Streaming. Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Down the Middle. I am your co-host, Jake, joined, as always, by my co-host, Ben. Ben, how's it going, brother?
Oh, I'm doing fabulous. How about yourself, sir?
Oh, I felt my inner Jim Cornette coming out, like, a lot lately.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, I never thought I would agree with Jim Cornette when it comes to Kenny Omega, but he keeps making points, and it keeps making sense. Jim Cornette keeps making points.
Okay, you're disappearing there for a second on your mouth there, sir.
That's weird. Anywho, before we get started shitting on the wrestling business, couple announcements. Ben has inspired a new t-shirt that is available in the store, link listed below. It made him very happy to see it.
Yes, it does. It's not really crapping on the wrestling business. It's more of every business when it comes to sports and everything else. And I've a lot of people that are friends with me and everything that's in the wrestling business agrees about it. It's all work. It's all work. Apparently, it's my catchphrase. It's all work.
So now you can own that catchphrase on a t-shirt and support the channel. And then when people say, hey, what does that t-shirt mean? You can tell them about us. So everybody wins. And then it was funny because I was watching Rampage actually this morning and I noticed something. I've been convinced for a long time that someone is bugging my house. Normally this comes up on the other podcast, but you know the color scheme for Rampage, of course.
Yes.
Yeah, the orange and blue is not a look that people would typically go to. Like, it's a little unique, except for the fact that in 2011, I was responsible for producing this. Not the graphics. Not the graphics. The graphics were already done, but I shot and edited this wrestling show, and this was the graphic work they gave me.
Okay.
That's a hell of a coincidence, and it just so happens that Billy Gunn was present, as you can see.
Right.
Who's bugging my house?
Well, I don't know if I talked about this or not on here. But everybody knows about my XCW thing and everything, the wrestling, all that stuff. Coincidentally enough, we talked about that. There have been times that we would do stuff in our show and everything, and I can't think of anything that I know it's true because the guy who owns the show and runs it right now, he would totally agree with me on this. He would be like, because there'll be something we would do on the show, and then next week on Raw or pay-per-view, they do it. I'm like, wait a minute, hold up. We just did this, and now now you're all doing this. That's not right. No. Like, there's been a few instances like we would do something in our show, and then be on WWE. Like, are they watching us or what?
It's like you're like, there's no way they could be. Like, it's got to be a coincidence, but sometimes it just gets weird. So that's always fun. So anyway, on to, as I'm sure only the most hardcore WWE fans will disagree here, but I think it's pretty obvious that it's certainly not what it once was when it comes to WWE programming. And let's not mince words. AEW is not perfect either. But I mean, WWE is just, it might actually be, I don't know. I'm not going to go out on a limb and say it's worse than it was in like 2014 because that was pretty bad, but it might be goofier.
The only thing, the only thing right now really keeping it afloat is everybody's excited about Brock Lesnar because he's well.
We've seen this a million times before.
No, I know. It's one of those. It's one of those things that they're trying to do something with Roman Reigns and all that stuff, and because Roman is beating everybody in the company, yada yada. He's the new CM Punk. Oh, sorry, right there. Wearing CM Punk's t-shirt right there. Sport AEW. Oh, I apologize. This is not just the CM Punk shirt. This is also the Danhausen shirt too. So,
Go ahead, spin around.
Paradise for evil. Sport them both. Sport them both. So, I got to do that. Anyways, they're just doing a Roman Reigns what they do with CM Punk. Okay, I don't know if you can tell or not because CM Punk has the record of longest.
Okay.
And Roman Reigns has went past a year with the belt. So if he's not going to lose it, if he hasn't lost it by now, and he doesn't lose it at Crown Jewel to Brock Lesnar, they're setting him up to beat CM Punk's record.
Which they probably are.
Which to me, it's like, one, grow up.
Oh, they're not going to grow up. Have you? Okay, so this brings up perfect segue into something I did want to talk about. Have you noticed WWE's YouTube channel is uploading content with Kenny Omega?
Who's it?
WWE.
No, that I have no.
Yeah, they've recently uploaded. They uploaded a promo he did in Deep South. Oh, not was it Deep South or FCW? I think it was Deep South Wrestling, but it was either. Yeah, it was Deep South. Yeah, that's what I thought. It was Deep South, and then they uploaded again the recap of the Elite versus the New Day at the game convention, G4.
Yes, Elite versus New Day, Street Fighter.
Yeah, and not only are they, he's in the thumbnails and they're identifying him as Kenny Omega, which I'm curious about what the intellectual property rights are there.
Because
Kenny Omega
is WWE.
Well, right, I'm talking about Kenny Omega because that name is, I presume it's owned by him.
Yeah, I know, but anything that Xavier posts on his channel, WWE owns now.
Right, but that doesn't. So, intellectual property, it's very weird.
Because the Young Bucks and Omega, they shouldn't be owned by WWE when it comes to that part. When it comes to the gaming thing, they shouldn't be owned by that, but the Deep South stuff, it is. Right.
I get it that they own the Deep South stuff because he was under contract at the time. Even if he went by Kenny Omega, then which he did, that footage is. I'm talking about the G4 stuff, which tells me that Kenny Omega must not care, which they might just be trying to get the views.
I think that's what it is.
I think that's what it is too. But I find it very interesting that WWE is arguably capitalizing on the success of Kenny Omega and various AEW talents, which WWE is such a confusing company for me because sometimes they'll do something that makes sense and then they'll completely just do a 180. And like, for example, Bobby Lashley is champion. That made sense to me. I understood it. And then, and again, I'm not shitting on Big E because he deserves it, but the way they did it was, it completely. Jim Cornette gave a great synopsis on this because I did watch it, but it was weird because they basically turned Bobby Lashley babyface and made Big E a heel just for that match, as far as the way they were wrestling.
Okay, but the thing is, he was. Are you talking because of the cash-in thing?
Not just the cash-in. So Bobby Lashley was injured, right?
No, he wasn't injured.
Not really, but he was hurt in the previous match or whatever. Like he wasn't really injured; he was kayfabe injured.
Oh, that turmoil.
Yeah.
Okay, with Owens. All right.
Yeah. So Bobby Lashley is now getting a babyface comeback against Big E, who is cashing in the Money in the Bank after the champion has had a match.
Right.
And it doesn't make sense. And Bobby Lashley can be a babyface. We've seen it.
He can be, because we've seen it in his previous run that he can be babyface. But with everything he's done over the years since that run, since his first run, especially with TNA and everything else, Bobby Lashley's better as a heel.
Oh, I agree. But what I'm saying is, why did they turn him babyface? And they didn't long term. But what I'm saying is, whoever booked this match, like they arguably turned him babyface and turned Big E into a heel, or at least an indifferent babyface. But
it's the way they set it up was weird, because it was Orton and Bobby,
right.
Title. Orton lost. So his match was over. Big E cashed in, and then Big E won.
I guess here's my so if you had to put it on Big E that way at that time, I would have had Randy Orton win, and then Big E cashes in on Orton.
Either way, you got three faces right there.
Right. But then at the very least, you can set up for multiple main events between the three of them.
Yeah, well, they still got to somehow get the tag titles back off of them.
Don't even get me started.
Yeah. How about that?
Talk about, like, they've just ruined Matt Riddle for me. Oh, I'm sorry. They've ruined Riddle for me.
Yeah. You can't say the first name anymore.
What started that?
It's just one of those things with WWE, like Antonio Cesaro. Okay.
I know. What was wrong with Antonio? It makes like
it takes forever to say the whole name. No.
Well, you've got 3 hours, so people have first and last names. Sorry.
Right. You got like a 5-minute segment where you got to get both wrestlers announced in, let's do their match in, and the ding, ding, ding.
Then it sounds like AEW doesn't have any trouble. I mean, sorry, like to me, it's just dumb, and it takes it. And then, like, I'll use Big E as an example. Like, and didn't he start out as Big E Langston?
Yes.
That's fucking stupid. So, like, I get that wrestlers would have nicknames, because a lot of professional athletes have nicknames too, but it's part of their name. Like, you don't just... I'm trying to think of an example outside of professional wrestling. I guess Rampage Jackson might be the exception, but he still had his last name. But, like, I'm drawing a complete brain fart here, but, like... Yeah, but he usually went by Rampage, so he's kind of the exception instead of the rule, but... You know, like, it's usually the first name, the nickname, then the last name. That's typically how it's done. And then they have that in AEW to a certain extent. Or, like, you have the nickname Man of the Year, Scorpio Sky, or Men of the Year, Scorpio Sky, and Ethan Page, however you want to do it. But they don't nix their names.
Right. No, I get what you're saying. I do. It's just, that's what I'm saying. Like, that's the only explanation I could probably give you is Vince is a perfectionist. And
Vince is a perfectionist?
No, hold on. Vince is a perfectionist the way in his mind he thinks he's a perfectionist, to where, like, they don't have like 5 minutes to do their whole match. To go from beginning to middle to end in 5 minutes. That includes entrances. It includes entrances and everything else. 5 minutes starts as soon as both wrestlers come out. What's your match? A beginning, middle, and end, and that's it. So
and yet WWE will have a 2-segment talking event. Like it just I'm glad you said it. He's a perfectionist in his own mind. What it really is, as far as I can tell, is Vince just likes his own ideas and thinks they're the greatest thing ever, but he's so out of touch. And I truly believe, because a lot of people are saying in the company that are leaving the company now are saying the same thing, that he's surrounded by a bunch of people who just kiss his ass and say that all of his ideas are good, or they're too scared to propose anything different because they are appealing to what Vince likes.
Right.
But what Vince likes is the shits.
I know. I mean, and I've been talking to everybody and everything, and everybody's talking about. We've talked about this before, especially with RD Grove. I'm not trying to get off of WWE's topic right now. We're going back to AEW with this whole people debuting thing.
What the what thing?
People debuting.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Because AEW's got a little problem with that too, and we've all talked about this.
Oh yeah, no, I'm not cutting AEW a break. It just, at least, I guess the best way I can describe it is when I watch a WWE program, I'm more than likely going to just turn it off because I just get or start out bored and uninterested in what they're doing. At least, it's very rare that I will skip an AEW segment because I'll at least care a little bit, and they usually deliver. Some of it's goofy, but for the most part, I'm interested.
Well, did you read about who might be there before Rumble next year?
In WWE or AEW?
AEW.
No. Who
Kevin Steen.
Oh yeah. I heard, and I foresee that happening. Maybe not though, because Kevin Owens has gone on record multiple times saying that it was his goal to get into WWE.
Right.
But I can see how he'd be frustrating with his booking because he's been stagnant for a while. And realistically, they're great matches, but how many times are you going to put Kevin Owens versus Sami Zayn?
I know.
Like, don't get me wrong, they're good matches, but we've seen this before.
For 20 plus years. No, I'm saying 20 plus years. Well,
15 at least.
15 at least, yeah.
Well, not Sami Zayn. I will admit it was Kevin Steen versus El Generico, who I will admit moves an awfully lot like Sami Zayn, but
oh, Jesus Christ, here we go. All right, let's keep kayfabe alive here.
But the point is, we've seen it for a few years now, repeatedly.
Right. I know everybody would want him to go to AEW because of what he's done with AEW, because he's done with everybody who's in AEW with Cole and the Bucks and everything, because they were the Mount Rushmore of wrestling.
Yeah, and you know what though? This is what I really wish would happen.
I want him to go back to Ring of Honor.
But Ring of Honor's so not what it used to be.
I know, but I was shocked because a guy I know just recently went back to Ring of Honor, and I didn't realize he'd been there before. And he's now the number one contender for the Ring of Honor World title.
Who is this guy? Name drop him.
Alex Zane.
Okay.
Who was Aries Sterling in WWE, who just got released a few months ago. I didn't realize he wrestled in ROH before. Seen he came back because they had a battle royal at Death
Before Dishonor.
Yeah, that's it. At Death Before Dishonor, the winner got a shot at the Ring of Honor World title.
Yeah.
And he came out and won it, and I was like, holy crap. He's already number one contender world title, and he's on New Japan.
Good for him. Get him on the podcast.
What?
Good for him. Get him on the podcast.
Buddies with him.
Go for it. Get him on here. What are you doing? Come on. Quit fucking around. Actually, you want to know something hilarious, and this is 100% true. It has nothing to do with what we're talking about. But so in the house that I bought that I'm currently in, it's an unfinished basement. Guess what is painted on the wall?
What?
In red paint, it says "Death Before Dishonor."
That's creepy.
I'm not shitting you. I'll send you a picture of it when we get off here.
That's creepy.
Yeah. So I'm guessing the person who lived here before was an ROH fan. I can hope.
Yeah.
I can only hope.
ROH fan or a cult fan?
Either or, but I mean. Anyway, back to shitting on WWE.
I want to ask your opinion. Because everybody knows Bray Wyatt
Yeah.
is coming to AEW. Everybody knows this.
Wyndham Rotunda.
The Fiend. We'll go with the Fiend because I guarantee you he can call himself the Fiend.
I don't think he can, but
Wait,
I'm actually okay with him coming out as Wyndham Rotunda and not doing just not doing Bray Wyatt in AEW because he's clearly creative enough to do something.
Well, he's going to do his Fiend gimmick.
He can't though because WWE owns that.
But he owns the rights to the mask.
Does he really?
Well, the mask ain't WWE's creation. That's his creation.
Well, right, but okay, so this, again, with the legal thing, so it depends on how his contract was written, but theoretically, anything that he created while in WWE belongs to WWE.
But Tom Savini created the mask.
But who does he work for?
Who does Tom Savini work for?
Yeah.
Now WWE.
Oh, that'd be hilarious if he could.
Tom Savini. Do you know who Tom Savini is?
No.
Okay. I'm going to give you a horror lesson. Have you ever heard of the Evil Dead movies?
Yeah.
Okay. Tom Savini was in those movies, and he created all the monsters and everything for those movies.
Oh, okay.
He's one of the biggest horror creators, like makeup and masks and everything else. And he created the Fiend mask. He created the belt that the Fiend wore.
Oh, shit. That would be hilarious if Wyndham Rotunda could wear the mask on AEW television.
And my thing is everybody who's been watching AEW recently will know that the Dark Order is getting a little out of hand and everything.
Yep.
I think once they get to Rochester, New York, because that's the one they're saying he's supposed to debut. Yes, they're saying he's supposed to debut in Brody's hometown.
Oh, that would be cool.
Is he become, even though Brody's son is the leader of the group, but he can't really be there because he's got school and everything else.
Well, right, and theoretically, so that would actually follow. Like, this is only this conversation could happen when discussing pro wrestling. But like traditionally, a line of succession, like even though he's next in line, he wouldn't technically be the leader until he was of age.
Right.
So there would be a steward, essentially, or someone to take his place until he could.
And Bray Wyatt, or whatever, Wyndham Rotunda, would be the new leader of the Dark Order.
That would be awesome.
That's what I think is going to happen.
Then they can turn him heel again. Actually, I don't think you can. I think the Dark Order is babyface team from now on.
Problem is it's only, they need to do something to get him back in line.
Right.
And what technically broke him up was that it's not our fault. It's not Adam Page's fault. The Hangman Page, he had a kid and everything else, yada yada.
I mean, it's kind of his fault.
Well, hey, the man had a kid. Leave him alone.
It's his fault, though. I'm just saying he had a hand in it or two.
Well, anyways, he had a kid. Congratulations. I'm proud of you. But it was the whole fact of like the way they played on TV and everything that technically broke up the Dark Order. But with Wyndham Rotunda coming in, that can reform him and make him bigger and badder than ever.
Yeah, it looked like they were going to do that by using Anna Jay coming back, but after that match, Evil Luna was still not quite feeling it. So I think you're right. I think they are setting up for Wyndham Rotunda to debut in Rochester.
But I like I've told everybody else off of here, and we've told everybody on here, they need to slow down on these debuts.
They really do. And this is minor, but I think it was a mistake to give Ruby Soho a title shot right out of the gate. I get that she did the Battle Royale thing. Like, I get it, but I think it was kind of a mistake.
Well, if she doesn't win, then we can just do they can just do the whole thing. It was just announced yesterday, and we can go ahead and talk about it on here as well, that she could win the TBS title.
Yes. There's at the risk of them having too many titles, which I don't think they do, but I like the idea of there being a mid-card women's title. Because their women's division is pretty big.
Right. But I don't think it's big enough for a tag team titles.
Well, yeah, I'll agree to that just because there aren't a lot of women's tag teams in AEW. Right, you could make them up, but I think the women's division, as far as tag teams go, I think that like once a year tournament kind of thing, that which I don't even think they do once a year. I think they've only done it once. TJ,
like the Dusty Rhodes type thing that NXT does, yeah.
Yeah, so speaking of NXT and going back to shitting on WWE, I mean they've even ruined NXT.
With the rainbow colors?
No, that's weird, but that's whatever. But I can't even enjoy NXT anymore because it's just another WWE program. It's no different. It's the same shit, except now it's people I've never even fucking heard of. And they're like, "This is a tremendous athlete." I'm like, "Who are they?"
Well, Tommaso Ciampa is the NXT champion again.
Well, that's good news at least.
Well, here's the problem. Joe got injured again.
Yep.
So, and I feel bad for Joe. It's like, I'm sorry, but have you noticed? Because I know you watched TNA back in the day. I know you did. Joe, when he was in TNA, he was fine all the time, right?
Yep.
And what happens when he gets to WWE? Somehow he gets mysteriously injured all the time.
Well, I've said for a long time, and it's very interesting how this is more evidence for people bugging my house. I've said for a long time that WWE's schedule, the way they do things, is very problematic with the house show schedule specifically. And this is going back to like 2006, 2007. I even said something to the effect of, I'm like, why do they do house shows? Like, to me, it seems like it's not worth it because their number one moneymaker is their TV deals. And at the time, their pay-per-view buys. Like, I get that they're making money on house shows, but think about it. You got to pay the building. You got to lug all the equipment around. You have to deal with travel for your top stars, but everybody else is like, fuck it, get there, which is problematic in and of itself. And then, you're trying to sell tickets, but most people are like, well, I always had a rule, like, I don't go to house shows because nothing's going to happen. It's very rare. So I have no interest in going to house shows because it's just going to be, wrestling for the sake of wrestling, but nothing's going to happen storyline-wise, except on the very, very rare occasion. To me, it's like, but how many times have we read, like, so-and-so got injured in a house show? Like, it just doesn't seem worth it, and AEW has figured it out. You want to know why they're having crazy matches on a weekly basis on TV? Because the guys are wrestling once, maybe twice a week.
Well, plus they're independent bookings, but yeah.
Well, right, but not everyone, because AEW is paying, their top stars are being paid enough to where they don't have to do independent bookings. They can if they want, but they don't have to make money.
Right.
You know, so like I'm honestly, if I'm a top guy, or even a high mid-level guy in AEW, I'm not going to risk getting injured on an independent because this is where my money's coming from.
Well, that's true, but then again, you don't know what they're making either.
Well, a lot of these, that's why I said top or even like high mid-card level.
Well, right, but that's what I'm saying. Like I've seen some of the Dark, they're doing stuff on the indies, but like I think it's more just signings.
Right. And I mean, they might do, like, for example, John Moxley's making enough money. He doesn't have to do GCW stuff. He's doing it because he wants to.
Right.
And I get that, but what I'm saying is he's not filling up all of his weekends with independent bookings because he needs the money. He's doing the independent stuff because he wants to help that company and he enjoys doing that.
That boy's got plenty of money.
Yeah, exactly. He's not doing it for the cash. He's doing it because he loves that company and wants to help it out.
But then again, with where he lives at right now, yeah, you need money to actually live out there.
Well, yes and no. It depends on where you live. But again, it's not like John Moxley has a shortage of cash. He's probably still living off WWE money.
Well, I'm saying, like, I live down in Vegas. Yeah. I'm sure housing and everything out there is like. Anyways,
you'd be surprised. It's actually, there are areas where it's really not that bad. It's pretty comparable to where we live. Maybe a little bit higher, but again, if you're making John Moxley money, you can pretty well live wherever you want. I mean, as Jim Cornette says, the Cucamonga kids still live out in California.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Can I just take a moment to just like put over Jim Cornette's creative ability to come up with nicknames for people? I mean, what is it?
You're not going to praise him when we get a certain somebody on this show if we get him on here, are you?
Who would that be?
VR. I'll go with that one.
VR. Oh no! I'll leave my. Well, I mean,
no.
No, not in relation to him, but I mean, okay. So let's look at some of the names just for the Young Bucks. You got the Cucamonga Kids, the Hardley Boys, Road Warrior Buck, and Balding Buck. There's so many more, I can't remember them. But like, I'm sorry, the shit's funny. The Hardley Boys in particular.
Well, because they were what the Hardy Boys were.
Yeah, no. I'm sorry. It's funny to me. And then what does he call Orange Cassidy? My little dog Pockets. Now here's the thing. I like Orange Cassidy, but that's funny.
Like, leave the boy alone.
Well, and so Orange Cassidy is a bit of an enigma for me because I cannot. Orange Cassidy is a character that I should hate, but I think he just owns it so well that like I grew to like it. Because when I first thought, I'm like, that's so stupid. But it's grown on me.
I love Orange Cassidy.
I do too, and I still no, I love Orange Cassidy. I still maintain that his match with Pac at the first Revolution pay-per-view is fantastic.
Yes.
It's a great match. So what else? I mean, I don't know. What to your mind, what can WWE do?
What can WWE do? That's the thing, though, is like they need to take a step back and realize what they're doing wrong. Okay, because realize what they're doing wrong because they need to see what they did right back in the day. Because this is obviously the Monday Night Wars again. Per se.
I've kind of been referring to it as the wrestling Cold War because it's like it's kind of like the Monday Night Wars, but it's not the same because they're not head to head.
Right. That's what I'm saying. It's like the Monday Night Wars, but it's not because they're obviously not on the same days and everything else. And like they need to take a step back and realize what they were doing right back in the day because they were getting their butts whooped for 83 weeks.
For doing the same cartoony, nonsensical bullshit.
Right. And then they realized, oh, we need to do this. Well, obviously they can't. They need to take something like that from back in the day and try to incorporate into the now, even though they can't really do stuff like that back in the day. In the now, because of how weak and feeble-minded a lot of the people are nowadays, when it comes to the society of how society is ran, because anything offends people now. Because they don't really let their people work and wrestle like they should. Now, Triple H, he was letting people wrestle on NXT like they were in AEW, like they are in Ring of Honor, yada, yada. But Vince is way too old school that he can't do that.
Well, I don't know, because the WWE used to have wrestling, and it was good.
Right, that's what I'm saying. Like, but he doesn't really realize like who's the people who put over right now.
Well, speaking of putting people over, it's kind of funny because in a way, WWE has created its own competition, if you think about it, because when NXT first started taking off, and I've spoken about this before, where I kind of dubbed that the indie era, where they were bringing in all these guys from the independents in Japan, and they were bringing them in, giving them mainstream exposure, your Finn Balor's, your Samoa Joe's. Like, I know Samoa Joe was a big name, but he hadn't been in WWE. And then even later on, your Adam Cole's, who, like, again, hardcore wrestling fans knew who he was, but your casual WWE audience had probably never heard of him. And now he's in AEW. There's so many others. Like, Jericho jumped ship, but Jericho wasn't with WWE at the time, so that's a little bit different. Christian Cage is there. Ruby Soho's now there, who... John Moxley, geez, that's the obvious one. You know, they basically trained and created a lot of their competition. They didn't train Adam Cole, but you get what I'm saying. Like, they gave exposure to these guys and girls. And, now it's only a matter of time before some of them end up in AEW. But like you said before, I think, honestly, what we need is we need a third company to absorb some of these, some more of these talents. We need a company to get big enough to where it draws an audience that makes it worthwhile to go there and not just to AEW.
And that's the problem with Impact and all of them is they're stuck in a little rut to where they can get higher. And they need to do something where they get a little higher again. To where people wants to go there as well instead of just straight.
Right. And well, here's the other problem with Impact, and I totally understand why they did it, but they have a working relationship with AEW. So you really need someone like a Ring of Honor to get bigger. Like, that's what needs to happen, but their TV is problematic because, like I said, it's hard to watch.
That's why I was using that's how I was using them both. Because even though Impact is on TV, they're not high enough to where like they were back in the day.
Yeah, 100%.
That's what I'm saying. Like they're not as high enough like AEW is right now. Back in the day, they were high to where like when people left WWE, they went to TNA.
Yep.
Because they're a big company and they're Mitch McSane and everything else. It's different. Now they're at a standstill to where like we're just putting on the same kind of wrestling every week.
And their problem now is they can't really get a hold of big enough name talent because AEW's there to sweep up all the big names. And let's be real, some people are just stuck in Impact because of their contracts, i.e. the Good Brothers. It was kind of similar to what Thunder Rosa was doing because she was contracted to NWA before she could be officially contracted to AEW, but she was on AEW all the time.
And what bugs me is like they got Impact has Matt Cardona.
Yep.
Okay. But he's also doing the independents, obviously. Matt Cardona is a big name that they need to utilize him.
Yeah, I agree. Think about what a good feud he and Christian Cage could have on Impact Television.
Right. Like right now, it's going to be Christian against Josh Alexander.
Who?
For the Impact ones, huh?
Who?
The longest running X Division champion right now.
Who?
Oh, not now because he gave up the. I know.
You see I know who he is, but like you see my point.
I know what you're saying.
Yeah.
You know, like diehard fans know who Josh Alexander is. Part of the North with Ethan Page and yada yada. Where they're tag champs, now he's X Division. He just gave up the.
Yeah.
He just gave up the X Division. Huh?
Sorry. Go ahead.
I was gonna say he just gave up the X Division title for Option C to go for the world title at Bound for Glory. All right. And I've seen all these people who's won got title shots and everything, like Brian Myers. He got shot the world title. Now Josh Alexander, yada yada. Matt Cardona is a big name because he's got his podcast and everything. Like Christian can only hold the belt for so long for Impact, or he needs to go back to AEW and do his thing there.
And that's exactly what he's doing. He's holding the belt. You've had two people that were arguably just holding on to the Impact World Championship in a row.
Right.
So fun fact about the North, I didn't realize that was Ethan Page for the longest time because every time I was watching Impact and the North came on, I just skipped it.
Yeah, that was Ethan Page.
Wow. I cannot, I put two and two together. I'm like, wow, you made such a good move going to AEW, dude. And I'm not trying to hate on Impact because I want them to succeed. I want there to be a bunch of wrestling companies that are big and worthwhile to go work for. And I don't mind the cooperation, but I think certain people in Impact are a little too cozy in AEW.
Because they know they're set.
Right. Like I said, it's only a matter of time. Like they're basically waiting on their Impact contracts to run out.
That's if they even let them run out and they don't re-sign again.
Well, yeah, but I mean, why would you re-sign with Impact when you could just as easily get an AEW contract?
To them, though, they probably look at it as there's already a lot of people at AEW as it is.
Yeah, but I guess it depends on the person. But like, for example, the Good Brothers, like they're going to sign they're going to become All Elite as soon as they're free.
That I don't disagree with.
Yeah, now there's a handful of people that I can see. It's like, listen, you're not quite up to being on AEW. Like, you can appear on AEW television, but you're not quite up to where we need you to be to get a contract, per se.
Right.
Like, I can see them, staying in Impact or whatever, but I would like to see Ring of Honor get built up again, even to where it was a few years ago. Like, I'd be okay. I'd be okay with that, because then I could see a Kevin Steen going back to Ring of Honor.
Right.
But as of right now, he's either going to re-sign with WWE or sign with AEW.
He's not going to re-sign with WWE. He's done.
Is he really? Is it that bad?
That's that's the reports I've been reading. He's done.
Well, good on him. I very much enjoy seeing Kevin Steen in AEW, but again, with the exception of a handful of people. Well, actually, it's not that bad because Jungle Boy still gets a lot of screen time. MJF's still getting a lot of screen time. Sammy Guevara still gets a pretty decent amount of screen time. Like, I think they're doing an okay job with featuring the new big name talent, but still having like their homegrown talent on there.
Here's my thing. These storylines that they just did after All Out, and where they went from All Out to now, I'm like, a little weird how they went from where they were feuding wise then to now.
Like, give me an example.
Like MJF and
Brian Pillman Jr. I like that. The way they did it was a little strange, but I liked it. They had a really good match on Dynamite.
Right, well, that's what I'm saying. Like, how all these new feuds are happening. Like obviously you got to get new storylines and everything going after All Out because that's their WrestleMania per se. Like how they all just these feuds just run out. Like it's FTR and Spears feuding with Sting and Darby Allin.
Yeah, some of it's been a little random, and then like for example, like I thought how they started, how they set up the match with Punk and Powerhouse Hobbs was a little odd.
They're feuding all because he mentioned one of the Team Taz's a member of the Team Taz.
But if you remember that promo, he didn't mention anyone in Team Taz until Taz started talking.
I know. I know.
Hey, don't you mention anybody from Team Taz. Don't put us over. It's like, I'm like, that was kind of weird.
So I didn't even say anything.
That's what he said. He's like, I didn't say anything. But yes, now that you've pissed me off, I would like to wrestle Powerhouse Hobbs. It's like...
And now they're feuding. I'm like, okay, this is different. This is...
Like, don't get me wrong. It was a fun match to watch, but...
Well, Punk's feeding the whole group of Team Taz now. I'm like...
Yeah, but I mean, at least Malachi Black's doing well.
Well, he's still feuding.
Yeah, he's still feuding with the Nightmare Factory or the Nightmare Family or whatever you want to.
What's funny about this whole thing with AEW though is one thing though. Remember when we had F5 on?
Yeah.
And you remember how we were talking about New Japan taking down his video for the belt, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. What's funny enough is even though I'm not a big fan of this guy anymore because of the way this guy's been going off here lately, and that's Grim. I don't know if you've heard of Grim or not. From GTS? Okay. Grim has got his own show called GTS Wrestling. It's pretty much a backyard show, just like what ours is. The difference is, though, is this guy has money. So he's had Robbie E. He's had Kurt Hawkins. I'm sorry, Brian Myers. Jimmy Havoc. Like big names on his show, and he wrestled them on his show. He was just on the front row on I think it was Dynamite, not this past one, but the one before, where Cody Rhodes came back.
Okay.
Was that? And he was right there. Remember when Cody and Malachi went over the barricade and everything?
Yeah.
He was the one wearing the green John Cena shirt.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And he was recording it on his phone and everything, too. And he posted on YouTube, and AEW just took it down.
That's weird.
It's one of those things. It's like these guys, you own the rights to this on the footage. You can't post it.
Well, that's wow. We're talking about law a lot here. So technically speaking,
you are. This is the one I want to get your other podcast for me in here on this one. Is this one of those things that little bugs me? Because like, if he's recording from his phone and posting on his own YouTube channel, you don't own the rights to it.
No, because the footage belongs to him. The only thing they can do, so like for example, I recorded some videos when I was in Chicago.
Right.
And they were entrance videos, so there's music. The only thing they did to me is there's a copyright claim. Like the video's still there, but it means I can't monetize the video.
Right.
Because the footage is not copyrighted by AEW because I took the footage on my phone.
Right.
Now, worst case scenario, they could get me on the music. But theoretically, all YouTube would do... Well, so for example, the CM Punk video, I tried to post it on my TikTok, and they took that, they muted it. They muted the music because of the audio, but the video's still there. There's just no sound.
Okay.
But fun fact, the Jericho, because I put the Jericho video on there too, and that one still has audio. So I'm guessing Living Color people put a copyright claim in on that one.
That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, I know. It's copyright law is extremely frustrating because it varies and it's kind of it depends on the situation sort of thing. But yeah, his video should not have been taken down for copyright.
Like I said, I'm not defending the guy. It's just one of these. This is going with the fact of what we're talking about. Like, not just WWE, like anything wrong right now. This is one of those things that's bugged me. It's like, if he recorded it from his phone, the WWE did. Sorry, apologize. I'm so sorry. AEW had no right to take that down.
Right. Yeah, they shouldn't have had any.
And just like New Japan with Hazard, they had no right to take his video down. Because all he's doing.
Well, with them, it might have been an issue of him using an image or. Like again, like I don't know, and
but the guy he's friends with made the belt for New Japan,
right? But that would have been a work for hire sort of thing. So like he doesn't own the intellectual property of the belt because he was paid to create it for somebody else.
Coincidentally enough, he just made a second one for Will Ospreay, who's not the champion, even though.
Okay, so and this is where it gets even weirder. So let's use this example again. So he doesn't own the copy. Let's say the belt itself. Let's say that's not. So even if New Japan didn't solely outright own the intellectual property of the belt, which they do, if they took a photo of it and it was an official New Japan Pro Wrestling image, they own the copyright to that photograph. And if Hazard used it in his video, they would have had a right to file a copyright claim on it.
Right.
But oh, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, and I do what you're saying. I do. My only problem is you should be happy that somebody's actually trying to praise it or review it, or even if they didn't like it, he's still getting your name out there.
Yeah, but that goes into Japanese companies are actually notorious for not really caring when it comes to copyright claims. Like this is a little off topic, but like any fans of Dragon Ball Z probably know about Dragon Ball Z Abridged on YouTube. They had a ton of issues with copyright claims because Toei Animation was just like, no, you're using, even though it was like it was making fun of it, but it was getting people interested in the product again.
Right.
They still were putting copyright claims through left and right. Now, and this is, again, where it gets really confusing because technically they are protected through parody law. They're not making money off of it. And since it's a parody, technically they can legally use the footage, but Toei was saying, no, we own the footage, so you can't use it. So it ended up being this whole back and forth fight between them and Toei Animation through YouTube. And I don't know what happened, but they ended up being able to, their content's still uploaded, so clearly something of a compromise was reached. Like obviously they're not allowed to monetize the videos, but
see, you learn new things every day, especially if it's not wrestling.
Yeah, and then so here's another interesting bit. So then you have channels on YouTube that like What Culture. So they use images all the time, but their videos are monetized. They don't use video footage, obviously, but they use images all the time. So I'm not sure. I think they might have journalistic protection there. Like I don't know.
I know who you're talking. I've seen a few of your videos.
Yeah, which now it's time to get some heat. I'm just going to go ahead and say What Culture sucks. They're always full of shit. I don't know where they think they get their information, but they're always wrong. Like I remember one time they were talking about Cena. Oh, what was it? Like Cena was going to leave WWE for another company. I'm like, are you kidding? This was years ago. I can't remember the details, but yeah, somebody from What Culture got on there. John Cena is going to leave WWE for another company, and I'm like, bullshit, he is. Like, what are you talking about? I don't know. I don't even watch What Culture because I know it's bullshit.
It bugs me when there's some other channels out there that think they know their sources and everything. It's like, no, you don't. Sorry. Now, if you're giving us a history lesson on something from back in the day, then sure.
Yeah, and actually, there's another channel. Oh God, I can't remember his name. I want to say it's something like Wrestling with Andrew. He makes documentaries.
I think so.
They're good. They're really good.
I think that's who it is.
I think it is. I think it is Wrestling with Andrew, and his documentaries are fantastic. So anyway.
Yes. So anyways.
WWE still sucks.
Well, it's like I said, they got to figure something out to get better and everything else. But I do have an announcement to make.
The floor is yours.
Okay. Now, as everybody knows, my cohort here has another podcast, obviously, called the Average Intelligence Podcast. Now, from what I gather, sir, you're supposed to be there Thursday.
Yes.
Okay. Well, guess what? So am I.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I heard about that. Are you guys doing it Thursday?
Yes.
Nice.
Now, everybody knows that it's been a long time.
Yeah, he's gotten an extension on his championship requirements. It's not his fault. It's not his fault. Somebody no-showed.
Okay, I was supposed to have a miniature golf tournament for the All Events World title. Couldn't do it. And the next in line was my cohort's other host here. He's supposed to be in line for. He's next in line for the title. Well, issues have come arise. Everybody's been sick and busy schedules, yada yada. Well, finally happening. I'm going to be facing Eric this Thursday at whatever challenge he comes up with.
It was the staring contest.
We're not doing no staring contest.
Oh, come on. I was looking forward to that. I was told I was going to get to see a staring contest.
Well, he misinformed you, sir.
Damn it.
But then we got to do something actually good and fun for all these viewers out there.
I'm actually okay with the staring contest.
Oh, God. Well, either way, either or, sir. I will also say this. Even after that, there's also already another challenger after that. So, he's been waiting in the wings for a good long time now, and he's ready to go. And he's already got the game picked out and everything of what's going to happen.
Right on.
So, you want to go ahead and say what it is, or you just want to wait?
Oh, we'll wait. We'll keep the people wanting more. All two of you.
All two of us?
Yeah. Damn it! I wanted this. I wanted the staring contest.
So speaking of the game and everything, the second contender for the title is just messaging me back. What in the world? Sorry, I'm getting notifications. Everybody's following me and on TikTok and messaging me and everything else. So.
Right on. Well, I think we've pretty well wrapped it up. I apologize. I had a little bit of brain fog. There's just been so much going on, but God damn it, we're going to give you the show. I'm trying to. I remember there was something I wanted to bitch about with Kenny Omega, but I can't remember what I was talking about. I'm glad he kept it together for the Bryan Danielson match, though, and didn't do anything too stupid.
What's funny enough is I thought this is their first time wrestling.
No.
No, that's what I'm saying. Like, I thought it was. And then all of a sudden, PWG, Pro Wrestling Guerrilla, posted a clip of their actual matches that they had before, back in the day. I'm like, oh, okay.
That reminds me, though, that's something else I want to bitch about.
Oh.
So you sent me a couple, and now they've been popping up on my feed on TikTok. Is a bunch of clips from PWG.
Yes.
Now, I will admit, I had not seen a whole lot of PWG before, and thank God I didn't. That's some of the goofiest, silliest, just flat out stupid shit I've ever seen in my life.
It is. It is. I'm not disagreeing with you on this. But this is where all the biggest names in wrestling today has went to wrestle.
I get it. I know. It's still goofy shit. I watched, I don't remember exactly how many, but it was I'd say at least 8 guys stick their thumbs up each other's asses.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And seeing Jushin Thunder Liger and Tommy and Sammy Callahan didn't surprise me, but like what the fuck? Like I said, it's making my inner Jim Cornette come out.
Riddle was one of them too. You didn't notice.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Riddle was there. Tommaso Ciampa was there too. I don't know if he was one of the thumb fuckers.
He's the one he was the first one to put the thumb of the bump.
This is so fucking stupid.
Okay, no, I'm not disagreeing with what you're saying. Like, they do some goofy stuff in PWG, but they also do some badass stuff too.
I'd like to see some of the badass stuff because I've heard PWG was amazing.
That's where the Young Bucks were pretty much got their start was there.
Right. So I've heard.
That's where they did the whole, and that's where Marty Scurll. Even though Marty Scurll's now coming back to wrestle again.
No, he pretty well fucked that up. Kind of like how Tommy Dreamer's gone forever now.
Yeah, well.
Okay, you know what? I'm not even going to go there because there's.
Just leave that one alone.
Yeah, there's nothing I can say that's going to be.
No, just leave that alone.
It was unfortunate editing. I will just say that. Unfortunate for Tommy.
Well, even then. Getting back to what we're saying now. It's on YouTube where they do the shoe, the thumbtack shoe, and they super kick Candice LeRae right in the face. I'm like, that's but even then, like they do some badass matches with their spots and everything. Now they do go over the line a little bit when it comes to like using the referee.
Yeah, I saw that other clip where Rick Knox is kicking the shit out of people.
That and doing dives and everything else.
Yeah, so I guess my biggest problem is, like, I get how, like, in the moment it seems cool and funny and whatever, but if referee can kick the wrestlers' asses, what does that say about your wrestlers?
Hey, it's the Young Bucks. You're the one who praises them.
Well, I believe that Rick Knox could kick the shit out of the Young Bucks, but
I'm just saying.
That's beside the point. Oh my god!
Even the ring announcer got involved.
Do what?
Even their own ring announcer back in the day got involved.
Yeah, and I'm not. That doesn't surprise me because as much as I like the Young Bucks, they do some really fucking goofy shit.
Like there is one funny thing though. It was a ladder match. It was Chuck Taylor versus Ricochet. Obviously, they got the belt hanging up and everything, and like they were both deciding like which way to get the belt without a ladder. And, like one guy's got another guy in a wrist lock and yada yada, and he's got one down, but he's like trying to step on him to try to climb up and grab the belt. And Ricochet goes top rope, tries to dive for it from like. Okay,
don't even act for a minute like Ricochet couldn't do that.
What?
Jump off the top rope and get to the belt.
Well, I mean, it's higher than what he grabbed it.
Well, we've seen Ricochet can turn off gravity for himself, so he could totally do it.
We're talking about Velveteen Dream.
That match is amazing. I'm sorry.
I was talking about the whole doing the flip on the outside.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. But, like, that match is fucking incredible. That's back when NXT was really, really, really good.
Yeah, it was.
That's back when takeovers were better than the main pay-per-views or specials or whatever you want to call them now.
Yeah, takeover was better than wrestling.
Yeah, 100%. And I can't even remember. It was one of the Takeover Chicago's, and I cannot even remember who the other team was, but it was the Revival, and they had a tag team match, and It was the first match on the card, and it stole the show.
Mhm.
Like, holy crap, that was so good. And I'm kind of mad that FTR lost to Sting and Darby.
Well,
Because, again, I get it for that match, but FTR has been losing a lot.
they'll hit their stride once again.
And again, this might just be my inner Jim Cornette coming out. But I don't think so in AEW because they have so many tag teams that they want to put over.
All right, well, who? All right, but they need to do that because who's cheating for the tag titles right now with Death Triangle?
But the Lucha Bros?
Yeah, Lucha Brothers.
Nobody's
Death
feuding
Triangle.
with them.
That's my point.
That's what I'm saying. I think FTR needs to. I think it needs to be Lucha. I think FTR needs to beat the Young Bucks. They need to beat Jurassic Express. They need to get in position to go for the tag titles. They need wins.
They need the tag titles again.
Yes, they need the tag titles again. Because, and again, love the Lucha Bros. Got nothing bad to say about the Lucha Bros. But they don't. I'm glad they won the tag team titles and got them off the Young Bucks. But they don't need the tag titles because they're popular enough already. Although they could have a really good rivalry with Proud and Powerful. But now they're best friends again. So I don't see that happening.
All right.
Like, it seems like AEW's has had historically very good booking, but it seems like they were rushing to try to get to these big shows. Because I'm scratching my head at a lot of it. Like, well, okay, like, yeah, it was a cool match, but this doesn't really make sense long term. There's too many people that are buddy-buddy.
Well, that's factions for you. That's factions.
Well, I mean, yeah, to a point. But then you have factions that are part of other factions that are part of other factions.
Right, well, Proud and Powerful are part of Inner Circle, and
Now they're buddy-buddies with the Lucha Bros.
the Lucha Bros is in Death Triangle with Pac, which is weird that Pac's a good guy.
Yeah. I mean, with him being a bastard and all.
That bastard Pac.
And
He's a
then
good guy.
I don't even know what's happening with Andrade anymore.
I know. I seen his post last night about a Rolex thing, Rolex company, and and he's wearing a Rolex, but yet they didn't use them on this week. I'm like,
Well, I think what they were doing, I think they were setting up for Ric Flair to come in and be his manager. But then the episode of Dark Side of the Ring happened,
yeah,
and
they erased Flair from wrestling history in WWE.
well, he released a statement, which I think that had more to do with him just asking for his release and being given it. But he released a statement saying that it never happened. Which, I mean, again, I wasn't there. I wasn't on the plane.
Okay. The only thing I know about the plane ride from hell in that instance is I don't know anything about. They talk about that, but the only thing that doesn't get talked about is Kurt Hennig beating Brock Lesnar's ass at 35,000 feet.
No, they talked about that.
Well, I'm sorry. To me, that's more of an epic thing than anything.
Right, but that's not so defamatory. That's just like two guys had a fight.
I don't condone doing what was.
No, that
said.
goes without saying. Like, it doesn't even have to be said. Like, if that's what happened, that, like, no. I'm just saying if, because I wasn't physically there and I didn't see it.
Right, like we obviously didn't see it. Like I said, us, you and I, we don't condone none of that.
No, that goes without
We
saying.
don't condone none of that at all.
Yeah, that goes
But
without
my
saying.
thing is the only thing I remember of hearing from that plane ride from however over the years up until now was Kurt Hennig being Brock Lesnar's ass from 35,000 feet.
Yeah,
That's what I owe.
I had heard about that, and then Michael Hayes' ponytail getting cut off.
That too, yeah, that too.
Which that's just awesome.
And then after that plane ride from hell, they just cut off everything in that.
Yep.
Like, yeah, you're done.
Well, a lot of people got fired, from what I understand.
Well, I mean, they had an open bar. They're coming from overseas back to here.
Which, I mean, whoever allowed that to happen, I think that's like, who in their right mind is going to allow them? How many liquor carts did they go through? 4?
I assume so, but then again, who's the owner of WWE?
Well, that's what I'm saying. And, like, who the hell allowed this to happen?
Who's the owner of WWE?
I know, and that's kind of the point where it's kind of like nobody cares until somebody makes a big deal out of it. It goes back to the Max Caster incident. This shit happens and nobody cares until somebody makes noise, and then all of a sudden it's like, well, this is reprehensible behavior. It's like, really? You did nothing about it before then. And according to Jim Cornette and a few other people, there have been plane rides from hell incidents multiple times. This is just the one that became infamous.
It's funny you said Max Caster, and I seen that video of them two coming out and Tony Khan standing out there at the ramp, wondering what he's going to say.
Oh, I'm sorry. They played that perfectly, bringing him back. That was hysterical. And, like, they did it perfectly.
I seen that because, like, Tony Khan's just standing there with the microphone, like, all right, motherfucker, what are you going to say? What are you going to say?
But it goes back. This is legitimately what I believe happened there. I think his raps get approved to a certain extent, especially if he's going to be on live TV, which in this case he wasn't. It was on Dark when he came back and when he did the promo. But his raps are approved to a certain extent, probably if not outright. Which, again, nobody had a problem with it until people started raising hell on Twitter. Then, all of a sudden, AEW does not condone this, that, and the other. It's like, really? Because it had been on the internet for almost a week.
Right.
Like, you didn't have a problem with it up until that point. Which, like I said, I think what happened is they sat down with Max and been like, hey, man, this is blown up. We need to make it look like we're punishing you. We're going to give you a little bit of a break. Probably actually got the sensitivity training because it's like, what's that going to hurt? And, then people can verify that it happened. But then they came back and made a joke of it.
Right.
Which I think was... I mean, there's no other way you can do it and have the company and the talent save face.
Well, that's just like, I'll just use this as an example. You know who Wesley Snipes is, right?
Yeah.
I'm getting out of wrestling in the 90s. He went to jail for
tax problems, yep.
Right. And I don't know if have you seen any of the Expendable movies at all?
I think I've seen the first one.
Okay. Well, he was in the third one and everything, okay? And, they use him and everything. Like, haven't been around for a while. Where have you been? He's like, oh, I just got out of jail for tax evasion.
Oh, that's funny.
I'm like, what the hell? I mean, he's obviously, another character, but they use his real life situation in the movie. I'm like, all right.
That's funny. That's funny. That's hilarious. Like, honestly, if Ric Flair comes back, what they should do is be like, Rick, where have you been? He's like, I was on the plane ride from hell, brother.
Yeah, well, I don't think you do that.
Oh, speaking of Ric Flair, who knew that Kenny Omega could do such a good Ric Flair impression?
Oh.
Because he's been doing it on Being the Elite. I'm like, holy shit, I haven't heard one that good since AJ Styles.
I think the best Ric Flair impression of all time is Jay Lethal.
Oh, 100%. 100%. But you don't expect it from guys like AJ Styles and Kenny Omega, but they just bust out these Ric Flair impressions. I'm like, that's really good.
Well,
yeah, we've completely stopped shitting on WWE, so I think that's a good stopping point. But I'm excited to see you defend your belt. Hopefully it's a staring contest. Who's the commissioner?
You.
It's a staring contest, goddammit. Commissioner's orders.
Well, I think not only should he get involved, I think a certain female needs to get involved in this too.
I agree.
She hasn't been involved with this in a good long time, and I need this to be clipped and say, tell her, hey, you know who I'm talking about. She needs to be involved in this.
Yeah, we need a girl to win it. Yeah, but I'm putting my foot down as the commissioner of the All Events Welcome World Championship.
So, Mrs. Eric.
Yeah, I
will say that. No, I'm just going to say this. I'm not going to say her actual name.
Yeah, we know her.
Mrs. Eric. You will be involved in this. No. Like, she needs to be involved in it going for the belt too.
Oh, I agree. Well, and then that brings up, this is just a question for you. When is your, we're planting the seed here. When is your other podcast supposed to be starting up?
You're talking about the horror one?
Yeah.
We're looking at maybe the middle of next month, middle of October.
Oh, you should totally start in October.
That's what we're doing.
Yeah, 100%. You should start in October.
So for all those who, I've talked about this on my YouTube channel before, and we've made little hints here on our channel. There's a podcast that I'm going to be doing with my cousin, and we're going to be talking and reviewing horror movies. Like we're just going to watch a horror movie, and then we're going to give our in-depths and everything on the movie and everything. I don't know if we're still going with the same name of what we've got picked out. I'll let you guys know. But it's going to be amazing. I'm a big fan of horror movies, just like I'm a big fan of wrestling that I'm doing with Mr. Boker here. So expect to see a horror podcast coming very soon.
Yeah, it's probably going to be the most popular one.
Oh, come on.
No, people love horror movies. That's all I'm saying. It's like it's a very popular genre.
It is. Especially like when there's A-list horror movies to Z-list horror movies. So it's like, yeah, I know I said Z.
That's like legitimately the only genre where some of the like B-list and C-list movies are more popular than some of the A-list horror movies.
There is because like there's a horror company out there called I'm not trying to get too off track here, but we're talking about horror stuff. There's a horror company out there that I like. It's called Full Moon Features, and I went to Days of the Dead a few years ago when Sting was here, and one of the Power Rangers was here, and buddies of mine are with me. We Full Moon Features is the ones that makes the cheesy style type horror movies like Puppet Master and the Ginger Dead Man.
Yeah, but Puppet Master was awesome.
No. I'm not saying it wasn't awesome. It's like one of my favorite horror franchises of all time. What I'm saying is like they make those cheesy horror movies like you got an evil bong killing people.
Okay.
And you got Gary Busey, who's a gingerbread man killing people. This is the same company that made Puppet Master. Okay. That's what I'm stating. And when we were at the horror convention, we walked up to the table and it was Full Moon Features. I'm like, holy crap, I'm a big fan of you guys. So it's like, come on. So we will be talking about franchise. We'll be talking about certain horror movies, franchises, like series in general. The plan is to hopefully be up and ready by the time Halloween Kills comes out.
That's very exciting.
That's our goal. And I'm gonna tell them like, hey, Halloween, because we are gonna go see Halloween Kills.
Oh yeah.
Me and I are going to see Halloween Kills that weekend. And the plan is to hopefully get that review done that weekend. So, for all you horror fans out there that does like wrestling, listen out and be ready to go, because it will be announced very soon.
Yes, sir. Well, I think that's a good stopping point. We bitched about WWE enough. Tune in a couple weeks. We'll be covering something else wrestling related. We will figure it out.
That's why it's called Down the Middle.
Yep, we always call it down the middle, even when it comes to the Cucamonga Kids and Twinkle Toes McFingerbang.
Yes.
Oh, God. It's too funny. All right. We'll see you next time, everybody. Enjoy.